What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be building a 2x3x3 I Cuboid. Now this is a really cool puzzle because the axis that it turns on is off center, unlike a regular 2x3x3 where the axis is directly in the center of the two layers. To start this puzzle off, I was going to be gluing one layer to the layer beneath it. So I glued the pieces of the outer lying layer to the center layer of a 3x3, and after that was done, I took the puzzle over to my bandsaw and I cut the top of that layer off. After I was done with that, I filled all the pieces and waited for them to cure, and I came back to this the following day to sand those pieces down. I was going to be sanding these pieces down and pillowing it as much as possible, so I sanded all the way down to the screw, and then I pillowed all the way to the middle layer. After I was done with that, I sanded everything down just to kind of round it all off. While I was at it, I drilled holes in all the center caps just so it would be easier to take the pieces off and then put them back on. And then I disassembled the puzzle because it was time to fill all the gaps between the pieces. Because I only had one day to do this, I decided to go with the no epoxy method of filling all the gaps, so I got the super glue and baking soda out, and I dripped the super glue between all the pieces and then dunked them in the baking soda. This is a really cheap and easy method to fill pieces, and if you want to see more about how to do this, I'll leave a link to that video in the description of this one. After I was done with that, I sanded everything down on the belt sander, and I rounded off all of the edges of each of the pieces before hitting them with the Scotch-Brite. After I did that, I reassembled the puzzle and then I rubbed the whole thing down with some Scotch-Brite just to make sure it looked all nice. After I did that, I took it over and I started painting it black. I was really happy with the finish on the puzzle, and I didn't bother with a second coat because I think I got it perfect the first time round and I didn't want to risk ruining a perfect finish. And here it is, the 2x3x3 I Cuboid is finally done. Now I love this puzzle because it's an I Cuboid, which means it has a really interesting solving strategy. All of the cuboid algorithms are out the window because this is basically a 1x3x3 with an outlying layer on one of the faces. I did a checkerboard on this puzzle, and as you can see, it looks really cool when in the checkerboard state. You have to turn the outlying layer first before doing the checkerboard, otherwise you can't turn it. It's really cool to see how this puzzle bandages. It's like a ridiculous bandage puzzle, and you can actually build this puzzle simply by bandaging a 3x3, and I might try that later on in this series. But rather than simply talking about how this puzzle turns, let's compare it to a regular 3x3. Placed next to a Waylong GTS, you can see here that it is just 2 of the 3 cubies in height, with a little bit more added by the pillowing on one of the faces. Although in its shape-shifted state, you can see here that it occupies the same height as a regular 3x3. If you like this puzzle but you don't have any epoxy sculpt, well, don't worry, because there is a no epoxy version of this puzzle that I showed in a previous video. And if you want to watch that one, I'll leave a link to that in the description of this video. I hope you guys like this puzzle just as much as I do. I actually recommend that you build this puzzle before trying a cuboid because you only have to worry about one face, which means that you can really make sure you get everything right before you dive into a cuboid or a higher order cuboid. I just think that it's a really interesting puzzle and a good one to start out on. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, that's looking good.